You all people here, and we are beginning the second edition of Talk Journalism. First edition happened 3 years back, and it was a small exercise out there, but now it has grown, and we plan to do this event every year in the month of July. And the idea behind is, let's bring the best minds who shape opinions and have a view on everything to come and discuss the profession, the trends, the issues about it in an open format. So for the next 45 minutes, you're going to be with the guy who taught me 4 years back. He's Dr. Dunkley Gyimah from the University of Westminster. He's a former BBC presenter, and he's going to teach something very fascinating. And I still keep telling him it was my hard luck because I was very two-dimensional print journalist when I went to England. And he kept telling me that, you know, go into this whole web world, try doing this filming. And I said, this is not going to help me. You know, this is not going to get me any job, this is not going to do anything. But I was very wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong than that. Now the era belongs to all these people who run with these gizmos. So he's going to tell you over the next 45 minutes, how can we be video journalists and how we can be our own broadcasters. So all yours, David.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we start, before I thank you, can we thank Avinash for making this possible, please?
That's the first time he has given a good word for it.
Thank you very much for coming. I'm very humbled, and I hope I can share with you some knowledge for the next. If I speak too when I get excited, I speak very fast. If I'm speaking too fast, just stand up and say, you're speaking too fast, and I will slow down, yeah, because I get very excited. Ask Avinash. So for the next 45 minutes, I want to tell you about something called video journalism, like what these two people here are doing. And I want to tell you how possibly some people misunderstand what it is, and how in fact it's closer to cinema. And I don't mean fictional cinema, I mean factual cinema. There is a thing called factual. Before TV, there was cinema. Yeah, so that's where we're coming from. So I want to share with you some ideas. I've got lots of little video clips, and I brought some of my toys with me. This is what I use in the field. This is my camera, which goes on like this, and I can run with this. I'll show you how it works. And then I also have my steady camera on so I can do that. And then that is a steady camera. And this does full slow-mo 1020, so it's as good as that. But often I say to people, it's not about the technology, it's about what's in your head. So I'm going to play you this clip first to let you see a bit of what I've done. Volume. Not let us do our duty.
CIA these days increasingly looks more like an international convention for the United Nations or something than it does like a bunch of people like me from Tulsa, Oklahoma, with white Anglo-Saxon Protestant background.
What makes this piece remarkable is its unique sound and visual montage. This is an exemplary documentary, but rigorously and fully exploits the potential of artistic video journalism. Congratulations. Thanks.
Khan. I hope you're going to enjoy the work that David and I are doing. Digital is where it's going. Look forward to seeing.
Okay, so I guess people know Riz Khan. Yeah? Okay, right. That was done a long time ago, but when I saw the audience, I thought, oh, I'll give them this, because you look a lot younger than the audiences I tend to speak to. They usually like BBC, Grey, ITV, whatever. So I want to start by asking a question, and I'm going to come back to that question. Please help me out with this. Can you name any piece of something that you've seen that has had a lasting impression on you? Something that you always remember? Can you give me an idea? Like what? Anything. Can be film, documentary, drama, pop music, anything. Go on. I need you to help me with this. Please. Anything.
Social media.
What's that?
Like Twitter, like this.
Twitter. Okay. Now I was thinking of media, something you watched that you remember. That has always.
Like in 1999 Kargil War, when we saw the clippings of the dead bodies of the martyrs like coming to home from their houses.
Okay.
There was like a very touchy scene, and all things happened. So it was very emotional, and whenever you see this kind of thing, you feel connected, and you can feel the pain.
Okay.
So still, there are some news coverages which are still fresh in our minds.
Right. Okay.
We captured it like.
Right, so you're saying news.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So anybody else, please? Anything you remember? This reveals what my doctorate. Anyone, please help me. Otherwise, I'm going to lie down and we're going to stay here until someone says something. Madam?
Human angle stories.
Human. Okay, give me. All right, when I say, okay, I'll tell you what. I grew up in Ghana. No, I didn't grow up in Ghana. I grew up in the UK, and at the age of 10, I was taken to Ghana. Anytime anyone asks me, what do you really remember about Ghana, I remember Cholet with Amita Bachchan and Damanda. Because that's what I grew up on. Sitangita, The Burning Train, these kind of films. So I remember those what influenced me, and I never knew it until when I started to become a journalist. I was thinking, God, it's films. But anyone else? Does anyone else here have something they really remember? The disaster coverage of what? That's my mic. Bhopal. Good try. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So again, news. Okay. Anyone else? Photojournalism. Top man. Who said that? I can't see you. Good man. I like that. Anyone else? Things you like? Otherwise, why are we here? You're here for a reason. Okay. I will come back to that. Not going that way. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you for about 45 minutes. I'm going to try and break this up into 3 segments. The first segment is I'm going to try and give you an idea of who I am, so it helps you understand what I'm going to say, because what I'm about to say might be a bit too radical. What I'm about to say might be a little bit too misleading. So if I give you an idea of my background, you might think, okay, if he's done this, he might be telling the truth. And then I'm going to spend the last segment telling you where I think this is going. Right. Okay. So I've given this talk that I'm giving to you now, I've given a version of it in other places. This is in Dublin, Ireland, on something called the Mobile Journalism Conference. A lot of people in Europe are using mobile phones to film, and I guess the same thing happens here, India, China, Africa. Again, I talked with Google, tech. There was a tech hack in London on climate change, and I was asked to speak about cinema journalism there. Giving a similar talk in the EU, speaking to EU broadcasters about how the media is changing and what should we be doing. But the one place I tend to give a lot of talks is Apple. Apple are very supportive of the work I do, so I've spoken at Apple in London about 3 or 4 times. That was most recently in March. And then that was my first talk in 2006. So I've been to Apple about 3 or 4 times. And it's because they wrote this article. In 2006, Apple wrote an article on what I thought was the future. And in fact, what I did in 2006, most of that's happened now. That's not new. Lots of us do that. Lots of us make predictions. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But when they did this article, it sort of helped me. Now, back in 2005, we had an idea of what the journalist of the future would be, and it would be this. Be a video journalist. You'd be a web designer. The Outernet is, if the internet is inside, the Outernet is interactivity outside, like Minority Report, where you're changing things in 3D. You'd be a blogger and mob blogger, mobile blogging. So this is in 2005, when the iPhone didn't exist, but we knew there was going to be such a thing as mobile blogging. We knew we'd be doing interactive documentaries online. So you take a film like this, and you cut it up online so that when people click the video, another video happens. And we knew we were going to do photo essays and promos. So if I have time, I will show you one of the photo essays I did, which was about Obama's 100 days. So when Obama was in office for 100 days, the big arts centre in the UK and allowed me, we did a big film. Everyone gathered, all the people gathered here, and we did a big film of photo montage of Obama. So that was 2005. The question is, how much of all that has come true since? I would argue that today, most of that is true. Who here is a blogger? Who blogs? In this room, no one blogs? You blog? You blog? Good. Who here is a photographer? Any photographers here? Yeah, 2. Who here is a web designer and can write code? You're a web designer. What code do you use? HTML5? CSS? Java? Okay, good. Who here is a video journalist? Any more video journalists here? Who here shoots? Hello. Who shoots here on their, who uses their mobile to upload to Flickr, to Foursquares? Who uses their mobile phone? Social network? Everyone. Yeah? You don't. You did first, but then you, what happened? Oh, we all do that. Okay. Okay, so who does video then? Who uses their camera to shoot video and upload to YouTube? You don't. You don't like it. You like it. Sometimes you like it. Sometimes you don't. Okay. Right. But insofar as video is concerned, if I take this off, this has become the studio of the future, hasn't it? I mean, this does lots of things. This, if I were on Periscope now, we'll be broadcasting live, or Meerkat. We can be tweeting live. We can be blogging. We can put things on YouTube. I can tell my friends where I am on Foursquare. There are so many different things this thing now does, and it threatens that in a way. But I will come back to some more ideas in a moment. So that was 2005. In 2005 was the same year that I won an award for what video journalism would be. So by now I'm getting some ideas in my head, and I'm thinking, okay, people say this is video journalism. I don't think so. But that's not unusual. I started my career in broadcasting in when do you think I started? Have a guess. 90? Oh, you guys are so close. 1988. Whoa, yeah. As an undergrad, I graduated in 90, but when I was an undergrad, I started working for the BBC then. So by 1990, I was like, finished school now, what can I do? So these are some of the people I worked for. ABC, BBC. I was a correspondent in South Africa. Who here remembers apartheid in South Africa? Does anyone know what apartheid is? Okay, you're a bit young. South Africa in 1994 before 1994, South Africa wasn't a great place to live because there was a thing called apartheid, and that meant blacks do this, whites do this. You can't mix the two. So when you're trying to report from South Africa, you would know, because apartheid, yeah. So I'll give you an idea of that, how it was.
Voting in South Africa's first multiracial elections begins tomorrow. Guerrilla bombers have been mounting a last-ditch bid to derail the electoral process. Today, at least 19 people were killed and 48 injured in... Voting in South Africa's first multiracial elections begins tomorrow. Guerrilla bombers have been mounting a last-ditch bid to derail the electoral process. Today, at least 19 people were killed and 48 injured in separate explosions in Johannesburg and Pretoria. Journalist David Gyimah is covering the historic elections and joins us now live on the line from Johannesburg. David, are the explosions likely to affect voter turnout tomorrow?
Well, as we heard Carl Niehaus there, he was fairly bullish that it
so that was South Africa.
A lot of the leaders here would like to know.
I've also worked in politics. So part of my experience was working on a political show, and I worked for an editor by the name of Andrew Brown. Does anyone know who Gordon Brown is? Does anyone know the name Gordon Brown? Okay. So until, what was it, about 6 years ago, or even more, Gordon Brown was the Prime Minister of the UK. His brother was Andrew Brown, and I used to work for his brother. So, okay. Another person I used to work for is this guy. Does anyone know who that is? Who does sports in the room here? Any sports journalists? Okay. Who's this? Who's that? No? Where's the photojournalist? Where's the photojournalist in the room? No one knows who that is. Does anyone follow boxing? No? Okay. This guy's Lennox Lewis. He was the heavyweight champion of the world. He fought Tyson and beat Tyson in the biggest fight in the world in 2001. It was the biggest fight in the world in Las Vegas. It was huge. Okay. I've done some other crazy things, such as this.
Sorted out your mask.
Yeah. When you finish, just hit the... Is it recording? You can see it.
I'm recording now. I can see it's recording.
Okay. Huh? Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, and that was diving with the Turkish and British Navy. We dived about 50 meters. How big is 50 meters? How big is this room? Sorry? Right, 30 meters. Is that 30 meters? That's okay. So 50 meters is nearly twice. It's about 25. Okay. So about twice this. We had to dive to bring up some warships. We had to look at some warships. We had to look. So again, too, that was using video underwater, which is also part of video journalism. In 2005, I don't know what your organization. What's your biggest news organization here called? What's the biggest news organization in India? The biggest news provider in India. Who? Print and video. Hindi TV? Okay. Okay, so Delhi and who else? Times of India. Okay, so Times of India. Okay. So let's imagine it's 2005 And these people here are Times of India. And Times of India are saying, we need to get into the future. So they say, what should we do? And they say, well, we need to have some videos. But they've never done video in their life. They are Times of India. In the UK, the biggest news provider is called the UK Press Association. It gives all the media, BBC, ITV, CNN, everyone, it gives the media. So like the Time, they said we need to do video. And they didn't know how to do it. So somebody rang somebody, and somebody rang me, and they said, can you train these print journalists who have never held a camera in their life, and if we give you 3 weeks, can you train them? And I said, yes. It was a really, really big thing in 2005. What happened was the journalists couldn't wait 30 days. They only wanted to do it in 8 days. They only wanted to do it in 8 days because their boss, let's imagine it's Times of India again, before they left, today's what, Friday? Saturday. I've lost the day. Saturday. So before they left, their boss told them that come next week, Sunday, you are going live. We don't care what you do. Go and learn, go learn, but next week, Sunday, we're going live. That's it. So what do? You have to go and... So when they come to us, they go, we can't do 3 weeks. Our boss says, whatever happens, next week we're going live. He has told the whole world. Times of India says next Sunday we're going live, so we have to go live. So somebody called me, said, can we train them? And we trained them, and we turned the video, the training thing, into a film. On the last day of their training, the police staged a big murder for them. A real murder. They reopened the files, and then you came inside with your 8 days experience, and they said, okay, now solve the murder. And there is a film of them, I'm going to show you a little bit, and they solved this murder. But the film was called 8 Days, and I'll just play you a little bit so you can see the journalists working. And where's it gone? Wrong video. Okay, let's play this one here. Hello, I'm David. Is it playing? Random attack. So I'm going to play a video of these guys who, after 8 days, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Your system isn't working. My PowerPoint. Hello, I'm David Dunkley.
There were some signs of a struggle, but without doubt, this was a vicious killing. I do not believe that Keith was the victim of a random attack.
swine during this period.
They've got quite a short statement though, so it's going to have to be really fast GBs.
Going through a checklist, trying to get all of the GBs that I need, trying to get all the interviews that I need, and trying to get all the right positions.
Do you not believe that Kate was the victim of a random attack?
What's going through your mind, Paul?
It's bloody cold up north. That's all, really. Quite looking forward to this. It should be good fun. It should be really good fun. I can tell you we are treating the death of 36-year-old Keith Philpott as murder.
Again, he's had to cope with the death of his twin brother.
Midday, and a press conference around one of the most brutal murders investigated by Cleveland police is about to begin. It'll test the mettle of a radically new breed of newspaper journalists turned video journalists, VJs, as well as detectives on the murder squad of Cleveland police. This is an exercise, but the crime is real. The police are running this against the clock.
My name's Tony Williamson. I'm the Detective Superintendent on the Murder Investigation Team. And I'm basically functionally responsible, together with one other Detective Superintendent, for all the homicide inquiries in the Cleveland police area. Please make it as difficult for them as possible, because it's a nice change for me to know that I'm not going to face a barrage of questions. Okay, how are you doing?
It's about to start anyway, so this is the real deal. I've got about 8 days really on the trot trying to put this video journalism into practice. This is where it's crunch time.
I was just hoping and praying that I'd remember everything that we'd been taught, and that I wouldn't make any technical mistakes with sound and focus and things like that.
The conference kicks off. The journalists are divided into two teams. As one set shows off its new skills, the others carry on as newspaper journalists. Okay, so I'm just going to stop it there. I was using that camera to film this. The reason why I want to speak about this a little bit is because the conference, this whole thing happened from about 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock, but the film I only shot about 30 minutes of film, and when I came back, I put 15 minutes together. So in one day, that whole thing was turned around. Does that make sense? Now, that's different to documentary. With documentary, you film everything, and then when you come back, you sit down, you go, okay, I put this here, put this here, put this there. Cinema journalists or video journalists tend to work slightly different. They can hold their camera, and as they're filming you, they're putting the story together. So I could be filming you, you nodded your head. Since you nodded your head, I might look over here, he's done his hands, so I film him, and I come back to you again. And then I put my camera down. That's my one sequence. So it's a very brutal way of filming, but being very direct about what you want. Now, we have a number of students, Indian students in the UK, and I got one of them to do a little film. I couldn't edit it entirely for you, but I will give you the website where it will be, Diksha and Jaideep. Diksha is doing a film on Indian Michelin restaurateurs, yeah? There are about three Indian chefs in the UK who are Michelin star. Do you know what Michelin star is? Good, yeah. And this, one of my students now doing her final project, MA, she's doing a big story on this. It's a wonderful film. I shouldn't be saying this. If she hears, she's going to think, because I haven't told her marks yet. But it's a wonderful film. But she has learnt how to be able to film by just concentrating about what she sees and discarding many other things. Okay, so that film was put together very quickly. Now let me come with this. Go back to this. So by 2014, I've shot so many films that I decided it was time to do a doctorate. Anyone here done a doctorate? Who's done a master's here?
I've done my doctorate.
You've done your doctorate. Did it nearly kill you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm asking. Okay? If anyone who does a doctorate, we share this bond. Anyone who does a doctorate, it nearly kills you. If you're going to do a doctorate, go and find someone else who's done a doctorate. It does. It's amazing. So my doctorate was on the studying of communications, broadcasting, video journalism, design. Apparently I did 3 PhDs in 1. That's what they said I did. I shouldn't have done it. It nearly killed me. It took me 6.5 years, part-time. But that was to study all of this and put it together and say, well, what's happening? What's going on? And this is what I came up with. That the video journalism that we all think we know what it is, it isn't. It's quite a radical statement that a lot of people practice video journalism and they think it's about one person shooting with a camera. That's not video journalism. Because in the 1960s, this man used to shoot with his camera. Yeah? So this is from 1967 in the US, one-man band. So video journalism is not about one-man band. It's not about that at all. In fact, you can trace the word video journalism back to the 1970s. The word already exists. The word is not a new word. And what it refers to really is television news. The way we tend to use video. If you are going to do a course and you want to become a brilliant video journalist, then be careful who you're being taught by. Those of you who, anybody here from TV? Any TV reporters here? TV journalists? No? Good. I can insult them then. No, I won't do that. I won't. I'm kidding. I won't do that. I won't. No, I won't. I'm ex-TV myself. I don't do that. Okay. But if you study the TV formula, this is what it is. If you go home today and you look at your TV, it's something like this. It starts off with voiceover and pictures, then it has an interview, then it has another voiceover, then it has interview, then it has stand-up. So it's a very good formula. It works. It was made in 1948, 1967 it was updated. So if you're doing television, this is the formula. Once you learn this formula, hey, you can do television. Okay? Right. My problem was, I didn't think that worked. So what we did is I went around the world asking people how they film. And some of those places include the Syria border, China, US, Europe, South Africa, Tunisia, Egypt, Algiers, Lebanon. Just finding out how people film and trying to understand how you make film. You remember the first question I asked you? What's the last thing you watched that you remember? Yes. How do you make film memorable? Why is it that if I ask you about yesterday's news, can you remember yesterday's news? Okay, go on. All right, what about 3 days TV news? 4 days, yeah. So TV news, you remember today, you might remember yesterday, but that's it. But if I asked you about Cholet, when did you watch that? Years ago, but you remember it. So something in film is doing something to you that you remember, but news isn't. And that's the thing. Okay. So I went around interviewing people. In 1994, this is 1994, and that's me up there. And we were the first video journalists in the UK. So the word was invented. No, the word wasn't invented. The way it was used in the UK was by this company here called Channel One. And the people who invented video journalism were not a broadcaster. The first people that invented video journalism in the UK was a newspaper. So that's strange. That's something else. I'm going to play you a clip in case you go back and you're talking to your friend, you go, oh, video journalism in the UK, this guy, he came over, he's talking bullshit. He said it was the newspaper. I don't believe him. You know, it's just nonsense. How can he be a newspaper? He said we're doing everything wrong. I'm going to play you a clip from the press officer from 1994, who is now the head of CNN corporate relations. And you listen to what he says. Okay, can I just play this, please?
Again, as press person, I have a lot of inquiries from around the world, and I remember showing the whole game.
Hello. Hello.
I get inquiries from around the world, and then I remember showing whole gangs of people from China around and from the States.
Can you hear what he's saying? Can you hear what he's saying? The sound is this. I'll play it again.
Again, as press person, I have a lot of inquiries from around the world, and then I remember showing whole gangs of people from China around and from the States. I remember what are they called? Metropolitan in France. I remember coming over, and I had to kind of learn how to talk to all these different nationalities. You know, I remember. I think I've still got them actually. I was always given amazing presents by the Japanese every time they arrived. They arrived with these sort of lovely wooden boxes of Japanese things, so I ended up having to go out and buy them stuff too.
So he's talking about the people that came here?
Why were they coming over there?
Well, because they were interested in the idea of videos. I mean, it was, you know, we were very new in London, but actually we were one of the first around the world. I think New York 1 had done something similar at the moment.
So he's saying that,
not that.
He's saying you were one of the first in the world.
No, I mean, we were sort of very much on the world stage as this new, exciting venture, and everyone wanted to see if it worked, because obviously if it did work, they would copy us, which they did, and save themselves a lot of money.
Okay, so what he's saying is, Nick Hart is saying that in 1994, a lot of people used to come round, and we would show them video journalism in 1994, and I've just picked up this camera now, my camera. In those days, we used to use that camera and another one. And as I'm speaking now, I'm going to let you play around with this so you can see how it works. I'm going to put it on first, because this is now one of the toys. Okay, stop there. I'm just centering it up. Gotcha. Press record. Okay, so who wants to play with it? Who wants to walk around with it? So if I walk around with this now, go on, you can walk around with it. So see how it works, because this is the next generation camera now. So I can jump with it, I can run with it, it's steady, I can do anything with it. And if we play this back, I'll give it to you so you can play it back, and then I'll do some more talking. If you play it back, oops. One of the features for this phone, if you are using this phone, it has slow-mo. Has anyone used the slow-mo before? Isn't it fantastic? Yes. Absolutely fantastic. Now, if you are using slow-mo and you get this is a steady cam. So that means that whatever you shoot will just look absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to keep this around here for a moment and come back to it. This is what we used to film with, and I still film with this. This also is, do you know this? Yeah, someone got this as well, the lens? Yeah, so you got an assortment. There's about 4 or 5 different lenses that I now use. So that then fits onto that, and you can get wide angle, etc. But I also use other cameras. So I've got this camera as well. I have 2 of these. So each time I go on a shoot, I can very quickly do something like I can put a camera here, because I know my angles. I put a camera there, I'll put a camera here, and I'm interviewing here. And I know in my head I'm cutting. I'm cut to get the shot back. Why has video journalism failed? This is the history of communications in 3 seconds. What does it say? What was your PhD in? What was your PhD in? What was it in? What was your doctorate?
It was in the subject
of
emotional intelligence in print media management.
Whoa, good. Okay, I like this. Emotional intelligence in print management. Print media management. Okay, emotional intelligence. Right. So, before TV news starts about here. Okay, about 1940. Yeah? Before that, there was no TV. And then obviously here you have kind of the internet, cable news and the internet. Yeah? So the question is, what were they doing before TV news? Sorry? They were doing print, yes, but they were also doing film as well. There was a thing called newsreel, remember? Yeah, so there was newsreel. But if they weren't doing TV style, what style were they using? That's interesting. When you do this, so, but anyone here, you have to be very careful. Cinema in the 1920s is very different from cinema in the 1990s. It's very different from cinema in the 1950s. Mother India is very different from Patapanchali. They're two different films. The same cinema, but there are two different things. Sajjan Ray is a neo-realistic film based on Italian neo-realism. Mother India is a Hollywood-type film. So cinema has different genres. So even though TV news tends to be one, when you say cinema, you have to be very specific. Also, cinema in India is very different to cinema in, say, Bengali or China or Asia. But the thing about cinema is it's cultural. In order to tell you a story, and what kind of stories work in India? What kind of stories work in cinema in India? Sorry? Social, social family. I saw Anurag's, is it Kashan's film on, those kind of stories. So they are telling, the fictional cinema people are telling these very emotional stories, but what does TV news do? So the argument is, what if TV news could learn what cinema is doing and use that style? Are there any painters in the room? Anybody here paint? Do you know what this is? Oops. Does anyone know what this is? Do you know the painting? No? Anyone here? Anyone know here any painting? Any paintings? Right. The reason I show this is what is happening in TV today is the same as what's happened in painting, in music, in literature. It's the same thing. This was a very absurd picture, painting around the late 1800s. The guy who put this together was Edward Manet. And can anyone tell me what's wrong with this picture? When you look at this picture, what's wrong with it? Anything? Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, I like that. Anything else wrong with it? I like that one. Anything else wrong? Yes, absolutely. Okay, yeah, I like that. Anything else? For one thing, I don't know whether you can see this, but the perspective is wrong, where the woman is. She should be smaller. Now, the reason we show this film is, in the 1800s, painting went from classical to what we call the Impressionists. And video now is going from the classical, what I showed you here, from the classical to the Impressionists. So it becomes more cinema. I'm going to show you one more film in a minute. Fiction is not, anyone who tells you this is wrong, it is not fiction, there's factual, it is factual. It doesn't have to be 1 hour, and it's not expensive. Now, I'm just going to show you a film . This is a film, and when I... Oh. No one up and tell them to unblock me, please. No one laughed. Never mind. It's all right. I was only joking. That's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
The birthday girl.
Yeah? Okay, right, yeah.
The birthday girl. Was she beautiful? And here is her brother, Nick.
Okay, sorry, the volume. Okay, the volume's not on that. What is that? Is that journalism or is that cinema? It looks like cinema, yeah. Okay, but this is journalism. The guy who made this used to be my colleague from Channel 1, and now he makes these types of films. So he uses the style of cinema to shape his journalism. And he wins all these awards around the world because people like films that are cinematic. Okay, so let me just, I've got 5-10 minutes to finish, and I'm just going to go through these very quickly. I'm going to be around later on, so if anybody wants to talk about and have a go at some of these things, please come and see me. Unfortunately, there are time constraints. Why is cinema important? Because everyone has the same content. He's filming, she might be filming, she might be filming, she might be filming. Whose media do we go to? We go to the person who makes their film the best. If you do it in the cinema way, people like your film. So that's one of the reasons. If this is the story style, if this is the world, this is TV news, and that's cinema. So cinema allows you to do a lot more things. It's very dangerous when you're doing it with journalism, but some of my students here, that's Diksha, that's Jaideep, are beginning to understand it. They spend 1 year on a master's program. Anyone here planning on doing a master's? Yeah? Okay. They do a 1-year master's at the University of Westminster where I lecture, and we take them through what we call the rabbit hole. We turn you inside out. By the time you finish, you should be able to see things completely new. So cinema journalism or video journalism does not claim to be better than others. It's a different form for its time. Okay, right. I'm not sure how much this was useful. I think I'm here to try and broaden the idea that video journalism can be done in a very different way, and that there are some people who use this camera or that camera to make film using cinema, and they are highly employable, or they make lots of, well, not lots of money, but they can make a good living out of it. And if what I've said over the last 30, 40 minutes has made any sense, then hopefully 1 or 2 or 3 of you here, I hope to see you at Westminster, or maybe see some of your films, and hopefully you can share with others. But as I said, the purpose for me coming was to try and share with you some of the things that we're doing in the UK and the rest. So, those are some of my films online, and that's my Twitter handle there. I'll just I'll just take you to my site, and then we can all say bye-bye. So that's the kind of stuff we do. That's Jay-Z. Anyone into music, Jay-Z? Yeah? Okay, so we did a shoot with him at our university, he came to our university. So, you've seen this film. So, I'm going to be around, Avinash and I will be doing some stories here. And if anyone wants to accompany us, see how we do it, please feel free. But I hope you found some of that useful. I'm sorry it perhaps didn't appeal to you, because you never know what you're going to expect with this. And usually I show a lot more films, but I think I'm time constrained again. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for the wonderful session. We are now breaking off for tea, and we'll come back in 20 minutes, right?